Hello there. Join us Mondays to Fridays, 7:05 a.m. for newspaper reviews, headlines, analysis, and comments on your urban lifestyle station. High Impact 102.1 FM.
Good morning and welcome to today's episode of Newspaper Review on Impact 102.1 FM. And I'm your host for this morning, Timi Tokwe Arugundade. The stories on the front pages of the Nigerian major newspapers this morning reflect a nation grappling with reform, political realignment, economic pressure, and social accountability. From tax reforms and electoral integrity to power supply challenges and political battles ahead of the 2027 general elections. Today's headline highlights the tensions, the decisions, and debates shaping Nigeria's present and determining its future. Let's begin with the review of the major dailies. Starting with the Vanguard newspaper this morning, major headline on the Vanguard newspaper, we are seeing battle for Kano. Kakwanso blows out, Yusuf digs in, and we have about 3 riders to this story. Abba will regret leaving NNPP, and this is coming from Kwankwaso. Governor makes fresh appointments to replace Kwankwaso's loyalties. And the last writer to this story says, I'm hoping to reconciliation with Kwankwaso, and this is coming from Ganduje. Yes, a major story politically. Vanguard is reporting that an intensifying power struggle is happening right now in Kano State between the former governor Rabiu Kwankwaso and the current governor Abba Yusuf. Kwankwaso's strong rhetoric and Yusuf's firm stance suggests like a widening political rift that could redefine alliances ahead of the future elections. Kano remains a key political stronghold in northern Nigeria, like we all know, and development there often have like national implications. The battle underscores how internal party divisions and leadership tussle continue to shape Nigeria's political landscape. And you can get more on that story on page 5 of the Vanguard newspaper. Moving on to another story on the Vanguard newspaper this morning, it says, Tax Reform Act, no adulteration, and this is coming from the Senate. They are saying the Tax Reform Act, no adulteration. According to the Senate, declaring that the law will not be adulterated or diluted. According to lawmakers, the reform is aimed at strengthening revenue generation, improving compliance, and reducing leakages in Nigeria's tax system. And of course, you can join the conversations if there are any stories that tickle your fancy, or there's any story that you really want us to talk about, or something you want the government to hear about. I'm sure that we have a lot to talk about. The phone lines are open 09072245018. I'll take that again, 09072245018. You can always join the conversation. You can text us on WhatsApp 09072245018. Let's move on. You can get more on the story on page 8, and that is the Tax Reform Act, and Senate is saying no adulteration. Yeah, it's on page 8 of the Vanguard newspaper. Beside that story, we have Sharia court to INEC. We won't accept compromise elections in 2027. Sharia Court Council is telling INEC that we won't accept compromised elections in 2027. This is coming from the Sharia people, and the statement had to growing pressure on INEC. INEC already has a lot on them, so this is like they're trying to like restore public confidence in electoral process. So Sharia Council is telling them that we're not going to accept any compromise in 2027 general elections. And you can get more on that on newspage 26 of the Vanguard newspaper. Beside that story, we have Tinubu Obasanjo mourn as influential businessman Ojora dies at 93. It's a sad story. Tinubu Obasanjo mourn as influential businessman Ojora dies at 93. You can get more on that on page 7 of the Vanguard newspaper. The last story we'll be taking on the Vanguard newspaper is above the nameplate, and it says receiver manager of Nest Oil and Nekondo's interest in OML 42 JV secure major win. Okay, you can get that story. If you want to read more on that, pick up a copy of the Vanguard newspaper for this morning, and you will get more on that story. And that's all we'll be taking. Oh, there's one more story. Economic reforms driving political stability, intergovernment synergy. And this is coming from Bagudu. Bagudu is telling us that economic reforms driving political stability, intergovernment synergy. And you can get that on page 21 of the Vanguard newspaper. And that's all we'll be taking this morning on the Vanguard newspaper. Moving to another paper, this one will be going to the Punch newspaper. Major headline on the Punch newspaper this morning says outrage over police crackdown on Lagos anti-demolition protesters. And we have one rider to this story. Police tear gas protesters at Lagos Assembly make arrest. Activists, right groups slam police. Outrage over police crackdown on Lagos anti-demolition protesters. Police tear gas protesters at Lagos Assembly make arrest. Activists, right groups slam police. And you can get that story on page 4 and 5 of the Punch newspaper. There's a pictorial representation of what happened. We can see protesters, we can see people injured, we can see tear gas and all. Pick a copy of the Punch newspaper and read more on this story. Beneath that story, we have 2027 APC moves to manage defection gains internal crisis. APC moves to manage defection gains internal crisis. And this is like their for the 2027 coming general election, so they're planning towards it. If you want to read more on that, it's on page 2. Beside that story, we have gunmen adopt pregnant woman in Ondo community attack. Wow, this is a sad story. Gunmen abduct pregnant woman in Ondo community attack, and that story is on page 4 of the Punch newspaper. Beside that story, we have Nigeria earns 55.5 trillion naira from crude oil sales in 2025. Nigeria earns 55.5 trillion naira from crude oil sales in 2025, and that story is on page 2 of the Punch newspaper. Beside the nameplate, we have Diezani lavished over 4 billion naira in London luxury store, and this is coming from the UK prosecutors. Diezani lavished over 4 billion naira in London luxury store, and this is from the UK prosecutors. You can get that on page 3 of the Punch newspaper. Right above the nameplate, we have NUPRC opens 50 oil blocks for bidding. NUPRC opens 50 blocks for bidding. And you can get that on page 9 of the Punch newspaper. And that's all we'll be taking on the Punch newspaper this morning. And before we move on to the remaining 2 papers, we'll be going on a quick break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
You asked for great radio here. We brought you the King. We brought you the King. Highly backed 102.1 FM. The King of Radio.
Babe, I want to surprise my guy with a good treat. Where would you recommend?
Girl, I've got the perfect place for you.
Are you sure?
Yeah, my family and I were there not too long ago. It was fantastic. and the kids loved it. The apartment was home away from home, the rides, swimming pool, 3D cinema, and the food. Oh my gosh.
Where's this place now?
It's High Impact Planet Amusement Park and Resort, my dear. It's just away from Lagos and it has everything you need to relax and have unlimited fun.
How do I make bookings?
Oh yeah, call this number 0814-229-9509. Wait, are you booking a suite?
Why?
So I can tag along,
Nikini.
High Impact Planet Amusement Park and Resort. Fun just got real.
I know, and I love you too. This is why I've made it so that you can now have me everywhere you go. www.highimpactstudios.com. Press play. Links in our social media bio. Click at High Impact 1021 FM. Or you can just go the regular way. Turn on your radio and tune in to 102.1 FM.
We love you at High Impact Radio. Mwah!
See, there is no separating us now.
High Impact 102.1 FM. Mwah!
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, you're listening to Impact 102.1 FM, and we are currently on our newspaper review segment for the Morning Impact Show. Yeah, and if you're not just joining us, thank you for staying and not going anywhere. We've gone through the Punch newspaper and the Vanguard newspaper before we went on a quick break. Now we'll be moving to the Daily Trust newspaper. Major headline on the Daily Trust newspaper this morning says electoral bill delay falls uncertainty ahead 2027. All the story, all the dailies this morning are talking about the 2027 general election. Is like a major story. Electoral bill delay falls uncertainty ahead 2027, and you can get that on page 3 and 4 of the Daily Trust newspaper. Boko Haram kills army commander, 7 soldiers in Borno. This is very sad. Boko Haram kills army commander, 7 soldiers in Borno. This insecurity issue, it keeps seeing stories about it daily, and we getting news that the insecurity is reducing, things are getting better. Now we're seeing that Boko Haram kills army commanders, 7 soldiers. That's a lot in Borno. But you can get that story on page 33 of the Daily Trust newspaper. Beneath that story we have, we won't recognize elections conducted by Amukpiton. The Sharia Council is saying we won't recognize election conducted by Amukpiton, and that is the INEC chairman. If you want more on that story, you can go to page 21. Beside that story, we have new tax regime fundamentally flawed, and this is from Ndume. New tax regime fundamentally flawed. We're having a lot of people talking about the new tax reforms, and it's something that we need the government to talk about. They need to clear us. Ndume is saying the new tax regime fundamentally flawed. That story is on page 22 of the Daily Trust newspaper. Beside that story, we have Atiku toying with democratic sabotage, and this is coming from the presidency. Atiku toying with democratic sabotage, and that is on page 18 of the Daily Trust newspaper. Beneath the nameplate, we have FCTA strike. Patients stranded as health facilities shut down. We know that some people are on strike. FCTA strike, patients stranded as health facilities shut down. We need the government to do something fast about this, because it's with the citizens that are feeling it. Patients, look at them, they're stranded because the hospitals are not on. Doctors are on strike, so we need the government to reach a conclusion, reach an agreement with these people so that they can get back to their work and save lives. Beside that story, we have Turji Groups captures bandit leader who negotiated peace deal. That story is on page 24 of the Daily Trust newspaper. And the last story we're taking on the Daily Trust newspaper this morning says Governor Yusuf will be defected in APC. Governor Yusuf will be defeated in APC, and this is coming from Kwankwaso. The former governor of Kano State, Rabiu Kwankwaso, is saying that the current governor, Abba Yusuf, that just defeated to APC, will be defeated in will be defeated in APC. We'll see how that goes. And that's the last story we'll be taking on the Daily Trust newspaper this morning. Don't go anywhere. We'll be moving on to the Guardian newspaper this morning, and that's the last paper we'll be looking at. Major story on the Guardian newspaper says, despite demand, 2.5 million meters may rot away as federal government disco trade blame. Guardian is telling us that with this worsening Nigerian electricity metering crisis, despite the huge demand for prepaid meters, about 2.5 million meters reportedly remain unused, as the federal government and electricity distribution companies are trading blame. This development exposes structural problems within Nigeria's power sector. Metering is centered to transparency, consumer trust, and revenue assurance. Yet, we're seeing policy inconsistencies, weak coordination continue to frustrate the progress. We're seeing government is saying, there should be citizens should not pay to get meters. Distribution companies are saying that's not possible. They have to pay. Now we are seeing them going back and forth and all, and it's the citizens that are feeling all this. So for consumers, estimated billing remains like a very painful reality, while this unused meter symbolizes inefficiency in sector critical to economic growth. We hope they are able to resolve this. But of course, you can get that on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. Oshun appoints local government officials as Algon factions bicker over control. That you can get on news page 5 of the Guardian newspaper. Beneath that story, we have police disperse protesters over demolition of structures in Makoko. Police dispersed protesters over demolition of structures in Makoko. And that story is on news page 7. Sokoto airstrike reopens sovereignty debate as Akpabio Ningi differ. Sokoto airstrike reopens sovereignty debate. The Guardian is telling us that there's a renewed debate following an airstrike in Sokoto State. Lawmakers and political leaders are divided over issues of national sovereignty, military engagement, and civilian safety. The story underscores the complexity of Nigerian security challenges, while the fight against banditry and terrorism remains urgent. Questions persist about intelligence accuracy, accountability, and the protection of innocent lives. But you can get more on that on news page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. Beneath that story, we have Sanwo-Olu urged to intervene in Oloja's 2 dispute. You can get that on news page 5 of the Guardian newspaper. Telco risk $8.85 million fines over poor telephone service as NCC plans sanctions. You can get that on news page 4 of the Guardian newspaper. And that will be the last story we'll be taking on the Guardian newspaper this morning. If you're just joining us, we just finished today's segment of newspaper review on our Impact 102.1. Today's front page stories, it painted like a vivid picture of the nation at a turning point. Like Nigeria is pushing for reform in taxation, in power supply, elections, and regulation. Yet we continue to wrestle with deep-rooted challenges of governance, accountability, and social justice. From the Senate's resolve to tax reform to growing political tensions, from power sector inefficiency to citizens demanding dignity and fairness. Like, we cannot demand it enough. We are demanding dignity and fairness. The message is clear. The decisions that we make now, like, it's again decisions that the government makes now, is going to define the path that we are going to go forward in. And that's the review on the major stories making headlines today. I'm Arogundade Timitokwe. Thank you for listening. Stay informed, stay engaged, and join us tomorrow for another segment of the newspaper review. But before then, don't go anywhere. I'm here with you. I'm gonna give you like a very good Thursday morning. You know, this throwback vibes. Yeah, because today is Throwback Thursday. Yeah, don't go anywhere. I'll be right back.
Never forget. Always remember, the future is now. High Impact 102.1 FM.
Only big energy. When I come through, big energy. Dark shades on the
Hello there. Join us Mondays to Fridays, 7:05 a.m. for newspaper reviews, headlines, analysis, and comments on your urban lifestyle station. High Impact 102.1 FM.
Start your day with Impact.